in the struggle to free and unite Africa and claim for her the international recognition, dignity, and respect which is Africa's due. Ghana and the Convention People's Party have never been forgiven by their enemies for their firm stand and the part they play in the African revolutionary struggle for emancipation and unity. Since independence, they have tried various stratagems to overthrow Ghana and make her subservient to their whims and caprices. Our firm policy of positive neutralism and non-alignment thwarts their plans and balks their policy of undermining us. In public education, public health, and social development, Ghana today is an example of success. Thanks to the workers, farmers, and peasants of Ghana, the standard of living in Ghana today is one of the highest in Africa. What we have achieved belongs to the people and not to a clique of self-seeking people or class. The people themselves know this. This unwarranted rebellion threatens to destroy all that the Ghanaian people hold dear to heart. This senseless rebellion threatens the achievement we have sweated for the past 15 restless years. By this rebellion, they have tried to set back what we have achieved. They have attacked Ghana and the African Revolution, but they cannot succeed. We will not allow them to succeed. These stooges and sycophants of neocolonialism may temporarily set back Ghana's progress, impede the African political movement for a time. They may destroy some of our work of patience, diligence, and sacrifice, but we will rebuild what they destroy. Our socialist gains and achievements can never be destroyed. It is only unfortunate
Baraka FM
that for Ghana, the various projects and factories
98.7 FM Baraka Yetiewo Babia.
Good morning to all our cherished listeners and our viewers on Facebook and on YouTube. Medini Ba Abdul Fatah Yusuf Mutie Free Ahunjo, yes, just opposite time fee so warm and Mutie Free Baraka FM 98.7 FM. Yes, young matching Munina Mutie Bibi Mutie Free Biano young matching Mojiri se Munina Muye ade achi de se hwe ede ne koso ewo ye man Ghana ansana yako amanoni edikan ansana ye be kono ene the 26th of March 2026 ocean time no so I'll see 8:58 which means some 2 minutes to 9 o'clock. Yeah, but shall see the share the newspaper headlines. But ansana no say the okoso ewo ye mine Ghana. You know, I don't know whether it's because of Yaman Penny or call United Nations in terms of reparation and what is happening in terms of the voting and those who were undecided. And only three countries, Bako, and the trois, quatre, only three. No, almost yes, and the rest of the world, they don't agree. But fortunately for us, we have majority. And you know, United States, Israel, and Argentina, almost say Debbie. But all the same, since we have the majority, someone will say, maybe it will be a similar. Maybe it is the majority that will continue to rule until otherwise. And the best chance here. Suleiman, in terms of international idea, you monitor frequently. I don't know what catch refer sa sebi.
Meda se mama misa akonya we first of all meda Baraka FM for na ibon pa se dan nya de be atifo nya no enye ade a omo be benefit na so ya benefit yeah. Nhyira as at 25th of March and I who say a man penny John Dramani Mahama our UN United Nations our New York
Baraka FM
now omo have a session our hall and the main agenda was to describe the transatlantic slave trade no as the gravest crime against humanity, and that was the theme. And then omu ye votes and uncle for 123 nations and I approve it can say yes, we have to give apologies and then the reparatory to the African nations and Ghana particularly. And uncle for 53 can say they be ye vote yes or no. And uncle for man for 3 vote say they be yem peneso. So me person mention it here for the reasons behind all these votes no. Ohwe on my FM United States of America USA for no. The main reason omo anjantum ni say omo ka say you can't use current legal rulings to judge or justify previous era, and I say previous years. You want to say in the 15th century slave trade now it was legal at that time. So right now that is illegal no untimi emfa endemra enkase mrana illegal no oma to justify your case or not your reason. So that was the main reason. That was one part of the reason omukase they be omu they will not agree with it. So and see another issue, another reason omukase they are not going to agree with it. And say I'm say Sisiano reparatory
compensation for muko yeah Facebook so any YouTube so we emra slavery in some yen oko your Facebook so you can have some pictures to appreciate what your man penny His Excellency John Dramani Mahama or the etuja ko UN and sana vote no so discuss here enchebia no so ye be bremo your man penny His Excellency John Dramani Mahama no mono enchebia no ye the voice no ankasa no ye the be bremo live so that you would also appreciate what transpired. And do don't know a bonabaso because one of my friends saying senior most person I respect so much was a former minister of communication and also who is accredited with the private journalism institution. Yes, Honorable Kojo Yanka. Yes, I read some article on his Facebook post that I'll be reading to your TF4. Nhyira no obo yaman penny His Excellency John Dramani Mahama oba na baso say enye bibia because of uhwe bibia free during those times sa enkuruma timi gina ne nan so oka say debi enough is enough Nhyira no entina o boy yaman penny abaso say enye wawa say enemre Ghana na aside a champion this particular course. Yeah.
So going forward no ultimately say United States they were not really Oman paid the idea of the reparatory, Oman pekura. Another reason Omoka said they be dear, we are not going to vote for the motion is the beneficiary of the reparatory. Who are going to benefit?
Who are the victims?
Who are the victims? Because right now they are saying that the victims are not there.
No. We, yes, we are the descendant of the victims.
So how? No, Omoka say how can they identify that you are the descendant of the victims?
Definitely, they were Ghanaians, they were Beninois, they were
exactly.
So certainly.
Yes. So
and unfortunately for us, now they are getting back to their roots.
Exactly. So, there are reasons now. It's kind of. Me to
agree with them. Right?
They don't want to agree with what the UN has decided. And another aspect they say they fear that if they agree to the fact that it was the grievous crime against humanity in the coming future, Ghana or any other African nation can file a suit against them. Can sue them of what their ancestors did to them.
I like what you're saying. I listened to Netherlands, yes, when they were also justifying why they were undecided. And they say, they've taken steps all these years, and they don't see this as a new thing, as a fresh thing that should be allowed to go. That was why they were, because they didn't have an idea what really we are looking for as far as they are concerned. Until the Netherlands, what they stated, and then they abstain, which means Oman vote yes
or no.
Remains firmly committed to addressing racism and discrimination. We share the importance that the African group attaches to the lasting consequences of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. We fully recognize the profound injustice of this history and its continued impact today. In December 2022, the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands offered formal apologies for the actions of the Dutch state towards enslaved people in the past, who suffered as a consequence of those actions everywhere in the world, as well as to all their descendants up to the present day. In July 2023, His Majesty King Willem-Alexander apologized for the Netherlands' slavery past. As a member of the European Union, we engage constructively in the negotiations on this resolution, and we greatly appreciate the efforts by Ghana and the African Union to bring forward this important initiative. In this vein, I would like to also say that we align ourselves with the statement delivered by the EU.
Baraka
And we sincerely
FM.
regret that no consensus could be reached on a formulation that addresses key legal and substantive concerns. Having said that, the Kingdom of the Netherlands cannot support references that suggest the retroactive application of international law, including the implication of a legal obligation to provide reparations for acts that were not a violation of international law at the
Baraka
time
FM.
they were committed. We also cannot agree to the introduction of a hierarchy among crimes against humanity, including the designation of one as the gravest, nor to references related to the non-applicability of statutory limitations.
We almost eka saokano. Say Osha, they have taken steps on their own. Was in December 2022, formal apology was done on behalf of the Netherlands against those who were victims or those who were went to your friend saying Omudi came by Crown Sana, the other American and the UK and the British also came to Africa. And I'll say July 2023, their king also apologized again for the wrong thing that was done in the past. So they seem to align themselves with the EU.
Yeah. So to me, idea me esa hame kran say during the transatlantic slave trade. Omanya na they were the major traders in that during that time or era no. Included the Europeans, that's the Britain, the France, the Spain, Portuguese, and Portugal for no. They are the same country and revolution and resolution. No? They are the same countries they didn't vote.
Okay.
They abstained from the votes. And their reason is during that time it was legal. And now during that time it was legal, although but the acts and the actions that they were taking during the slavery, and then Yeman Penny air against But during that time, of course, it was the slave trade was legal, but it was legal in the sense that for domestic use, domestic purposes. Because even Africans during that time, before Omebano we were even trading among ourselves. But in terms of domestic purposes and now for war crimes, any ethnic group we are now you catch you in a captive say, now you are to prison, then we can just give you a slave to other people. So we are in terms of their Jumaye or fear any Yaman. But when the Britain people came and the foreigners came, they came in a form of butter trade, memang gunpowder.
Yeah,
no one for.
And it's hard to
And the reason why I say now most African leaders were giving out the people, and they said they were not giving out their own people, but their enemies. People, their
so-called
enemy people.
enemies.
Left say
yes. Like for example, so okay, maybe the Ashanti and the Fantis.
Yes.
When you were fighting, so those who were captured as captives, they give those ones out.
Yes.
Because already they don't see them as their.
Exactly. Yeah. So or the manner now. Or more gunpowder and the guns. The gun, no, it serves them as a defense from their enemies. I might say, my more gun and then my enemy no, he can't conquer me. So I'll just give your people to them and then take gun and then fight used against you.
Yeah.
So that was the main purpose. But now your leaders know that they weren't aware of the chains and then the
those ones was not really done. What I know, what I read, was not done. In fact, say like, family and Crawford did not participate in that. It was during the time they were shipping them out.
Yes. So this
those who were reluctant.
Yeah.
And now person use force and use those ones. Yeah. And again, you know that okay. It wasn't in one country. Everyone say Benin and other places, you know. So they do those things so that at least they could be able to get those who are a bit not cooperating with them.
And I heard during that time, not Benin, they were so powerful.
Yeah.
Benin, they were so. You felt on King back Alfonso, so then he was very powerful.
But Trinidad and Tobago, on say almost no, they seem to be a creation of the issue of slavery. Almost no. What happened and how they were applauding your man Penny His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
The results of the vote. The result of the vote is as follows: in favor 123, against 3, abstentions 52. Therefore, draft resolution A/80/L48 is adopted.
Baraka FM.
Before giving the floor for explanations of vote after the vote, may I remind delegations that they are strongly urged to limit explanations of vote to 5 minutes, which should in any case not exceed 10 minutes and be made from their seats. I give the floor to the distinguished representative of Trinidad and
14 member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, in explanation of our vote.
Baraka
CARICOM
FM.
voted in support of this resolution because of our historical attachment to the issue of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans. The recognition today by those member states that supported this resolution and the declaration is a critical first step towards redressing the injustices perpetuated over the 400 years of the transatlantic slave trade. In this vein, CARICOM remains a strong advocate for the advancement of reparatory justice for the historical atrocities perpetuated against our forebears during the period of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade, as well as the persistent legacies thereof. CARICOM therefore reiterates our support in principle for this initiative undertaken by Ghana on behalf of the African Union to advance the issue of reparatory justice. Given the importance of this issue, CARICOM stresses that implementation of the resolution must be done in a collaborative manner and in full partnership with the entire membership. CARICOM commits to contributing to taking forward the implementation of this resolution in line with the region's priorities, including the 10-point plan for reparatory justice. We will continue to engage meaningfully in future discussions on this important issue, including on ways to take forward the important provisions contained in the resolution.
We any there Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, after the voting no omuna yama makunya say almost omunka muntiminka be like all other participants were given 5 minutes each to be able to justify why they voted or they refused to vote, and those who really abstain from the voting. Now, I didn't ankasa na course no. Mumma enkona enkuti Yamampinix Excellency. Yes, John Dramani Mahama. Yes, the okay. And yana because the full details no there. Yeah, the Bram watchna. But I know the the excepts and the Bramona. We no and your foreign minister. His Excellency, my friend. Yes, in fact, wakasa yipa when he was addressing the press. Honorable Okujutu Ablakwa. But in the meantime, momenti Yamampini.
The Chef de Cabinet of the Secretary General of the United Nations, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ghana and senior government officials, the chairman for this occasion, Osaberima Kwesiata II, who's the paramount chief of the Ogoa traditional area, Reverend Al Sharpton, thank you for joining us at the African Burial Grounds this morning. Thank you very much. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus are here. Let's recognize you. Thank you very much. And for one of time, let me recognize our brothers from CARICOM, from Africa, and from everywhere in the world. Your Excellencies, distinguished representatives of member states of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, truth begins with language, with the power that words hold to shape consciousness and to shift perspectives to propel an action or other. I therefore offer this truth as a starting point. There's no such thing as a slave. There were human beings who were trafficked and then enslaved by people who believed they could own those human beings as chattels, as their personal property. Some will hear this and think I'm splitting hairs. Isn't that the same thing, they might ask? No, it's not. Not at all the same thing. Not if you acknowledge an individual's humanity. Not if you respect an individual's basic right to dignity. The entire transatlantic slave trade was designed to deny
Baraka FM.
humanity. And that denial was premised on a racial hierarchy with no basis in fact or science, a racial hierarchy that deemed whiteness superior and blackness inferior. The atrocities that were committed against enslaved Africans, the myriads of injustice that were born of slavery and carried forward into successive social framework, took place specifically because those persons were considered objects, not human beings. So when discussing slavery and its resulting institutions and practices, we must always start by reclaiming racial equality, the dignity of Africans, the humanity of our ancestors who were enslaved, and as a matter of course, our own humanity. Recently, someone asked me to explain the importance of the resolution on the declaration of the trafficking of enslaved Africans and racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. And I responded without pause or hesitation. And I'd like to share what I told him. This resolution allows us as a global community to collectively bear witness to the plight of about more than 12.5 million men, women, and children whose homes, communities, names, families, hopes, dreams, futures, and lives were stolen from them over the course of 400 years. I speak these words today not only for Ghana, but also in solidarity with the rest of Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, and the wider diaspora, and indeed, all people of good conscience throughout the world. This resolution is a pathway to healing and reparative justice. This resolution is a safeguard against forgetting. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, violence begins with language. When words are weaponized or to codify abuse, when people are called out of their names, regardless of their state of dress, when slaves were captured, they were always stripped of their clothing while being kept in the dungeons of the fortresses that had been built on the African coast by the European traders. They were forced with their limbs chained and shackled into the hold of cargo ships.
It's here for him, so we man penny Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Mutie. We the course so ansana omoto aba ma dudona I can say yes omoni Ghana and the rest of the world will be on one side, and America, Israel, and Argentina on the other side, and we have those who were mute. They were in between. They were undecided. You know, in some of our canning say, the Edwin in our say, kasa. Language. Language is what we use to either make or unmake people. And I see, as human being at that time in the Quran, we were used as objects, not as human being. We're not seen as even human being. We don't even be fit. We don't fit enough to be as human. Yeah. According to the Imam Penny Ekai. Which means it's really a terrible thing that happened. That should not happen again, and should it even happen again. Exactly. But the aspect that quite often about discussions like this are me should entiase any young Kasano. It's not about what they say. But young Kasano, are we really who we are? Do we really stand by? And then about His Excellency why? Because it is very, very, very difficult, especially within this time, for us to be able to stand on our feet and say, no, this is what we want, this is what we deserve, this is how we should go. Why? Because quite often we seem to see ourselves as inferior. And the white supremacy, Arab, they are ahead of us. That's always what you see. We think that when you are black, it means you cannot be yourself. You cannot be on your own. You cannot. It shouldn't be like that. In media, it's one thing that I would say is an idea. I say it should go beyond the confine of the UN resolution, so that it would all of us, wherever you find ourselves as Africans, and then other people who were also involved in this, saying who say we are human beings, and all of us were created by the creator for a purpose. Until you don't have to bow for any other person except Nyankopon. Oh boy, but unfortunately this is what is happening. Until I don't know what you make of your friend saying the ATA every year It's
very sad. It's very sad. So someone saying American no. Yaman Penny, he was emphasizing on the actions, on the victims. So until we hear Atlantic trade, slave trade now, close to 15 million people. 15 million people. And almost fast or how we 15 million. And almost about 2 million from the EU year. Yes. And I wish it had devastating
just
moments
like that.
Now. Yes. So now you are compact your ship no more. For 6 months you are on the sea. For 6 months. Now what you're saying it is called the triangular slave trade, the triangular transatlantic slave trade. From Europe, now our Africa. From Africa, then they go to America. After America, no more Europe. Now seen identity. Europeans now Portuguese, Brazil, for now more Europe no. Omba Ghana and Benin and African countries now. No matter set where you're sure. And then we call elimina castle home castle. Cape Coast Castle no more. And to the more they can't come into the township. Yeah. They're always at that place, and they'll start negotiating with the elders and leaders, you know. So okay, you pay, your mom say. So after a moment, young call for a muhoya din, Bema, Nkola, Nimba, Bema, then a more expensive. Because of where din. So when young munya we are near the mato ship no more. Near the mark next country, if you are Benin, near your call, your Silia Benin, if you now call Cote d'Ivoire, and most of the times, so it all happen in the West African countries, majority West African countries.
Because as you know, Eponoma easy more.
To hear near you need Benin for you need Gold Coast, near Senegal for so majority no within West African countries, and see you more core. 6 months, 7 months, now more a person the more and so Honda and call for no Modiani Dikwan adding because you have to be rushing the food also. So right now you're chilling more corn. I mean, your video be
I'm saying I know pictures can edit Facebook
star net here. They will chain you from your neck and then will right your legs near their ball down for so. And it will be crowd to me. Me say according to stories now, it will beat me 3 days now. Obeno, 3 days now. Obeno to me or how not so yare as disease ne infection.
And when you know, so no, people might not even see it as important as it is. But they actually more doing across the say today as you see Europe, you see UK, you see US. You see Australia, you see other places in Yinano, and you be out. Follow any kind of phone. I'm gonna build those countries at that time.
Exactly.
That's why you see him today.
Yeah.
White House are before na neko. There are plantation farms in Yinano. Exactly. Foreign Minister, Honorable Okututu Ablakwa. Also no Mampeni you know, and I hope you are bonting on the Central for.
Today, the international community has taken a significant, considerate, and historic step forward by adopting this landmark resolution declaring the trafficking of enslaved Africans and the racialized chattel enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. With the adoption of this resolution, Resolution A/80/L48, we have not simply passed a text, we have affirmed a truth. We have chosen remembrance over silence, dignity over erasure, and shared humanity over division. We have advanced the cause of justice, and we have done that so emphatically. Those who voted in favor, 123 member states of the United Nations. 52 abstained, and only 3 voted against. This is an emphatic victory for justice, and our ancestors, Africans and all people of African descent, are today honored that our humanity and our dignity have been restored.
Baraka
Let me,
FM.
on behalf of the African Group, express our profound appreciation to all member states who supported this resolution. We wish to thank those who engage in its consideration in a spirit of dialogue, reflection, and good faith. We acknowledge that views differed during this process, and we note the positions taken by delegations that were not in support the resolution at this time. The adoption of this text is not an arrival at a destination, but rather a major step in our ongoing journey and collective conversation for reparatory justice. We remain committed to continued engagement with all member states in the shared spirit of cooperation. Yesterday, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, who initiated this landmark resolution, talked about the importance of language, how it shapes our understanding of the past and our vision for the future. Today, through this resolution, the world has spoken with clarity and truth. We have affirmed that the trafficking of enslaved Africans and their racialized chattel enslavement is the gravest crime against humanity, a crime whose scale, structure, and enduring consequences demand recognition at the highest level of our shared global conscience, so that we can move forward in healing and in preventing fracture and enduring consequences demand recognition at the highest level of our shared global conscience, so that we can move forward in healing and in preventing such a crime from ever happening again. This resolution is not about apportioning blame across generations or nations. It is not about reopening old wounds. It is about ensuring that those wounds are neither forgotten nor denied. It is about creating space for truth, for education, and for a more honest global conversation that allows us to move forward together with greater understanding. History, as we know, is rarely simple. It is layered, it is complex, and at times uncomfortable. This resolution
Baraka
does not
FM.
deny that complexity. It does not ignore the many dimensions of historical experience. Rather, it recognizes that even within complexity, there are moments in history that stand apart, moments defined by their scale, their systemization, and their impact on humanity. To acknowledge this is not to diminish any other history. It is to deepen our collective moral awareness. What we have achieved today helps all of us in our renewed commitment to remembrance, so that future generations inherit truth, not silence, to education, so that history is taught with honesty and integrity, to dialogue, so that differences in perspective become opportunities for understanding, and to cooperation, so that we address the enduring legacies of history in ways that unite rather than divide. The resolution also opens the door for continued global engagement on reparatory justice, not as a narrow or transactional concept, but as a broader framework for healing, restoration, and partnership. It also calls for further actions within our respective states. We therefore urge every member state to consider carefully the actions it must take to ensure inclusive and good faith dialogue on reparatory justice. The work of justice does not end with remembrance. The racialized systems that adversely shaped our world must yield to a system that does not distinguish between our common humanity, and which seeks for the interests of all peoples in a fair, just, and equitable manner. Let me conclude with this reflection. We cannot change history, but we can change how we remember it. And in doing so, we can change what we carry forward. Today, the world has chosen to remember with purpose, justice, and equity. Let that purpose guide us toward a future that is more just, more inclusive, and more profoundly.
We Foreign Minister Honorable Okujuto Ablakwa, the other two journal after the resolution and also after the meeting and the voting for that matter at the United Nations. You know, I'm going to yes. Kasani de edaho one can say kano and one can or abia kuku and I say one can or baby debbie. They said it where it's supposed to be said, and that's what is more profound, more important. Until we any day a course with regards to the UN. I'll say history sometimes will not be comfortable with the history sometimes, and then the complexity. But ebending I say I say yenka na intimacy ye ko enim no.
Now we share this agenda ye man peniafa on behalf of Ghana,
Baraka FM,
the entire African Union at large. It's not only to remember or to grieve our ancestors, but going forward, no, we share the kind of white supremacy against blacks, even currently
as we speak
in America and black in Americans and other nations now. It's very terrible. You see, you can be working in one nation, let's say America, and then because you are black, a police will just see you and then ask you.
Not even police. Not
Where
even
is-
police. Not
where
even
is your
police.
passport?
In fact, ordinary person.
Where are your
Some
papers?
will spit. You know,
Yes.
some of our colleagues who are students in Russia and some other places. Yes, you are just working. Somebody sees you, say, because of where baby, you know.
Exactly.
Now I turn to Suagusu, and you
So-
don't have any right to.
So
Yeah.
because of this kind of thing hasn't been said
Yeah.
in the United
Yeah.
Nations. So now that this has been said, I think it will be a crime for you to do some racial action or racial to against a black person or any other person. So right now that has been recognized at the United Nations. I believe that since Akuja to black air cano, it member nation or member state should firmly come to agreement or negotiation to this. Now what me afa so I then at me aboa ye manya ye team and I say man be anko for befa be tina no. And me say it's a bold move ye man penny afa at least African and then Ghana are really proud of him. And then foreign minister so omonko so no mun pushy agenda to erase racism and then discrimination among African nation or black people. And to say it's very good. It's very good.
So we need the kakra etimi edi ebremo efa your friend is saying kakra etimi di bremo efa the ekoso ewo United Nations. Ntino you call for a short break. Ya ba na ya behwe the newspapers any the ekoso ewo ya mine Ghana. Ya ba na ya di eno so no ade ato mwako. the newspapers newspaper review segment the bremo because of the the dimension of the also United Nations penny ekasa hoema omoto aba in favor of Africans and all those who were affected in terms of the issue of slavery and at least take some na most muntimi hu the ekoso and as muntimi ti the ekoso for that issue na say the Daily Graphic say Africa wins historic vote on slavery. Ghana spearhead resolution at UN. Trafficking declared gravest crime. That's the word. Gravest crime against humanity. A man penny ni phone so and a better story no. And no children so see MTN to pay 6.4 billion Ghana cedi to shareholders. Shareholders in the way any jepa
asset 2025 January window more and I say I guess window more about what super that shares is very very secure and safe. I'm not a financial
advisor. Say shares are do anything that comes bit by bit and then trickle in and then bit by bit and grows, especially the young ones now. They don't want those things. So boom now and it's very dangerous. So if you want to really invest, like you're saying, strategy. These are some of the things. I remember those days when I bought some shares. In fact, I still have some of them, but share market now is not really favorable. Those companies now are not faring like before. MTN yes, so that is that. So it's something that say if you're looking at long term, these are some of the ways that you can also invest. Very, very important. 1 billion Ghana cedi Sigaba fund launched, and also on the front page of the Daily Graphic. Health Goldfields to inject 135 million US dollars in Bogosu Pristine mine, and also at the front page of the Daily Graphic. Daily Guidance also see local government minister calls for swift climate conflict risk action. AG Ghana react to Mahama's degree withdrawal, and also and the their friends and president of the Catholic Bishop conference and paying for Papa Insu issues that are affecting us and quite often current issues. He doesn't really respond, and he responds timely. Ono kwa de osi debi your man penny say yembona baso say otumijina na so oka say this friend saying lesbian and gay issues there because of that omumba na baso and I say omumba no sa award in there ono there office it's appropriate say man penny etumijina na so emani eko sa ntini moma yenko na enko tie the friend saying Most Reverend Matthew, yes, Most Reverend Matthew, on the President, Catholic Bishop.
Oh, precious.
When we come to the president of Ghana, I think this should remind him and all the leaders of Ghana that we should not be subjected to the views and opinions and cultures of any other person. We should hold on to views, ideas, and our culture that will help us to develop and be independent. And